So, what's it gonna be? Ant-Man.
Kang the Conqueror is one of the most notorious villains in Marvel history, and I do mean history. His claim to fame is his ability to time travel. He's not the physically strongest, but he's one of the smartest. He might not be able to defeat the Hulk in a one-on-one fist fight, but his mastery of time could allow him to dodge every single punch the Hulk throws, and then trap him in some kind of pocket dimension.
Stop!
You don't get the nickname the Conqueror unless your track record accurately reflects it. It has been Kang's legendary list of evil accomplishments that puts him on par with someone like Thanos, and probably even above him.
You should be grateful.
It is for these reasons that the MCU chose this comic character to be the next overarching multi-phase villain, who will be coming after the Ant family first. There are many comic references in the Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania trailer, and hints at comic stories that could tell us what he is up to. We've already seen his statue at the end of Loki Season 1, but it's time to fully learn who this guy is and what exactly he wants with the lovable Scott Lang. In fact, there's likely a whole backstory for Kang that occurred for a literal millennia before he ever even comes across the Tiny Avenger. So obviously, we know that Kang the Conqueror will have plenty of conquering to do in the near future. Or past. Just stay with me, this whole time as a construct thing is gonna get very confusing.
Basically any movie that deals with time travel.
Die Hard?
However, we first have to start with how Kang got to where he is right now, when we see him in Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania. First, after Scott, Hope, Janet, Hank, and a slightly older Cassie Lang are all accidentally transported into the quantum realm, we get our first glimpse at the mythical city of Chronopolis. Or just is it our first glimpse? You may remember back in the first Ant-Man and the Wasp, the sequel to Ant-Man, Chronopolis can actually be seen in the background of the quantum realm when Janet and Hank are making their departure. Chronopolis is typically the home of Kang the Conqueror, which exists in the Marvel Microverse, adapted to the MCU to be called the Quantum Realm. Given that the quantum realm exists apart from time as we know it, it is technically a separate universe, meaning that anything that has sort of happened in the main Marvel timeline up to this point really has no bearing on what has gone on within the quantum realm.
I don't understand.
This means that Kang the Conqueror could have just arrived, or more than likely has actually been in the quantum realm this entire time. But just how did he get there? And why haven't we seen him yet? Well, that's where it gets possibly a little complicated. In the Loki TV series, we met the first variant of Kang the Conqueror, aka Nathaniel Richards, a super genius born a couple thousand years after the main events of the MCU, who actually mastered time travel and the ability to travel dimensions.
Same person. I mean, it's a little unnatural.
This variant was known as He Who Remains. He was gifted this name possibly by himself for being the lone survivor of a multiversal war that took place between himself and all of his other variants. Now, we were led to believe that He Who Remains won the multiversal war and as a reward took control and merged all the branching timelines into one sacred timeline. He created the TVA in order to look over his timeline and clip branches that would lead to future versions of himself being created, who would eventually come back and start the multiversal war all over again. I'm sure in this war there were many casualties, and He Who Remains likely pruned several and straight up killed others. However, what if he couldn't get rid of them all? The variant of Kang, simply known as Kang the Conqueror, often called Kang Prime, is one of the most powerful and vicious and ruthless variants there are. He is often the main threat to the Avengers. So what if He Who Remains couldn't actually destroy him?
Ooh, a swing and a miss.
What if, instead, he had to find another way to take Kang the Conqueror off the playing field so that he could conquer the sacred timeline, enter the quantum realm? You know, literally.
See you soon.
He Who Remains is smart and cunning, and he could likely at least trick Kang the Conqueror if only for a short period of time. In doing so, he was able to put Kang the Conqueror in a realm outside of time itself so that he could not interfere with the sacred timeline, and as a result trapped him in the quantum realm. Stuck in there for literally who knows how long, probably as long as He Who Remains was in the Citadel at the end of time, Kang obviously adapted and built an entire city and civilization among the life forms living in the quantum realm, and called his great city Chronopolis. This is the civilization we find ourselves in Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania. A civilization, I may add, that Janet seems all too familiar with, given her hesitation to sending any kind of signal to the quantum realm in the first place. Now, there's a rumor that Kang, by the time he meets Ant-Man, has already killed multiple versions of Avengers from several different timelines. This could have been very recently, or it could have been before the multiversal war even began. I think prior to him being defeated and trapped by He Who Remains was when he did his first round of conquering. Since then, he has been trapped in the quantum realm, building this new society, looking for a way out. However, we have already seen that Kang the Conqueror has taken over the TVA from He Who Remains. I believe this is the same Kang we will see in Quantumania, because I believe the TVA is actually located within the quantum realm as well. Existing outside of time, the people living in the quantum realm like the members of the TVA have no concept of it, because it's not the normal flow of time. I believe Kang has been unable to access the TVA so long as He Who Remains was alive. When Sylvie ended his life, however, Kang immediately stepped in and took over, but still needs one more thing to be able to actually leave the quantum realm to the main Earth 616 timeline. Enter Scott Lang.
Have either of you guys ever studied quantum physics?
Only to make conversation.
So, Kang has everything he needs, right? He Who Remains, the person that has trapped him in the quantum realm and taken away his ability to exit it, is now gone. And he has stepped in to take over the vacant TVA, seemingly wiping the minds of characters like Mobius, or even grabbing new variants of them. What more could he need? I believe that He Who Remains had built in a failsafe should he disappear and his variants come back to take over. We have learned in the MCU that the Pym particle is needed to successfully complete time travel through the quantum realm. This means that it is required to both enter and exit it. This leads me to believe that if the TVA is built in the quantum realm as theorized, then the portals used by the agents of the TVA probably employ some kind of Pym particle from the distant future. So the point where Loki returns to the TVA at the end of Loki is either after the events of Quantumania or just as they are kicking off. Kang has everything he needs except for the gas in the tank, the particle that will allow his agents and himself to leave the quantum realm. We know that a dynasty of Kangs is coming, so I don't believe the TVA will serve the same purpose as it did under He Who Remains, clipping branches in time to make one sacred timeline. So, Kang has been waiting for this opportunity to get his hands on some Pym tech. Janet likely found this out during her 30 years of being trapped down there, and spent the entire time either fighting off Kang the Conqueror or simply hiding from him. Granted, she didn't have the technology he needed anyway, otherwise she would have been able to leave herself. But still, him knowing she was out there could have led him to capturing Hank when he went in to rescue her. Now that Quantumania Kang will have 5 members of the Ant family to choose from, there are likely some Pym particles he could get his hands on. However, they clearly don't have it on them. After all, the movie would just end if they accidentally went to the quantum realm and then immediately were like, oops, let's go back. This is what Kang needs from Scott. He needs him to either bring him Hank or bring him Hank's technology. The last thing to complete his ability to conquer the multiverse is the Pym particle. I'm not sure how or why, but in the film, Scott Lang will have some reason to know where he can get his hands on one, or find Hank to do it for him. Therefore, Kang the Conqueror needs to manipulate Scott into doing this for him. Perhaps it'll even be another heist, only this time quantumified. But why would Scott ever agree to this? I mean, this dude is clearly a bad dude. He just screams multi-phase MCU level villain. No, I think this third film in this overall lighthearted and comedic series could take some dark turns. I don't believe we will be seeing all the members of the Ant family make it out of this alive. I think in order to make a statement in the first feature film appearance, Kang will kill one of the original 6 members of the Avengers from the comics. The original Ant-Man or the original Wasp, or maybe even both. After he has done this to show that he means business, I believe he will hold Cassie hostage, or Hope hostage. The other 2 still alive will then have to go on this journey to find or steal the last piece of technology that Hank left before his untimely death at the hands of Kang the Conqueror. If he does not do this, either Scott's probably fiancé at this point, or his daughter will meet the same untimely fate. Once this task is complete, Kang will clearly begin a multi-film journey to conquer literally everything. The doorways will be open, and everything He Who Remains did to keep Kang subdued for so long will be undone. I think in order to save his daughter or Hope, Scott will inadvertently give one of the most powerful villains in the MCU the tools he needs to bring it all crumbling down. But just how exactly will he do that once the events of the film have subsided? Just what is Kang to do now that he has the keys to the multiverse thanks to Scott Lang? Well, Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania is just the first film in Phase 5. We know that Kang will play a part in the next Avengers film, the Kang Dynasty, and likely the one after that, Avengers Secret Wars, which are some of the final films in Phase 6. So, Kang has a lot to do and a lot of time to do it. I think before we get to Kang's Dynasty, we may even see the Council of Kang storyline play out. Perhaps this will even be the main storyline for the second season of Loki. The Council of Kangs is a story where Kang the Conqueror recruited all of his variants, the best of the best, to come together and conquer literally everything. As you can guess, it didn't quite work out, and Kang needed to prove he was the one and only. This could definitely happen. Once Kang gains full control of the TVA and Scott gives him the technology he needs to get it up and running, I believe he will do the opposite of what He Who Remains did. Instead of creating one sacred timeline, he will allow the main timeline to branch out into many others, so that he can purposely recruit the future versions of himself.
Reincarnation, baby.
He probably believes he can stop the multiversal war from happening, and instead recruit the lesser Kangs to be part of his army in conquering the multiverse. The second season of Loki could even be Loki and Mobius figuring out his plan and attempting to sabotage the Council of Kangs, only for the season finale to reveal that Kang Prime, the same one from Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania, actually decided to destroy all the members of the Council himself to prove that he is the strongest. Once this is done, it will be time for Kang to start his dynasty. His attack on the main timeline, the Earth 616, the trunk of the tree where all the branches of time begin, will see him actually succeed in conquering the Avengers, like he did before the first multiversal war. I believe Avengers the Kang Dynasty will end with Kang on the throne having succeeded, only of course for something worse to come. His dynasty will be short-lived, as Avengers Secret Wars suggests that the fate of the multiverse in general may be in question. After all, you can't conquer anything if nothing is there. I believe Kang's exploits through time, or possibly some meddling from Doctor Strange or other characters, will begin to cause an incursion. This incursion may be a blessing and a curse, as it could be what frees the Avengers from Kang's grip, but also leads to them having to fight to save the fate of their and possibly every other universe. This could lead to a worse villain like Doctor Doom actually defeating Kang the Conqueror, only to place himself on the throne of whatever is left following the incursion. Or it could lead Kang to nearly bringing everything down.
Just wait till you meet my variants.
Regardless, it all will have been caused thanks to the events of this first film, where he will likely coerce Ant-Man into retrieving the one thing he needs to escape his life sentence of being trapped in the quantum realm, and having full access to conquer any universe he chooses. Man, this could make Star-Lord punching Thanos in the face look like spilled milk. Even if Scott assists in the destruction of the multiverse, don't you lie, you're still gonna say Scott Lang can do no wrong. What do you think Kang's plan is in Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania?